motivation behind these last couple of weeks for you guys? What's the goal for you guys last couple of weeks?
Oh, I think it's just to play hard and compete, you know. I mean, obviously, you would like to be in a situation where you're playing for a playoff spot, but that's been eliminated. And so now I think, you know, we're all paid to do a job, and you do it all the way into the last buzzer of the last game of the season. So that should be the motivation with all of us.
The Clippers are obviously trying to gear up for a playing game. They know they're facing rotation they want to play with, but they still want to win a game. Like, do you come in here as like a kind of rain on their parade kind of thing?
We come in here just to play hard and compete, and you know, obviously we're playing to win, you know, but we're not trying to be a spoiler or rain on anybody's parade. You know, we're just trying to finish up on a positive note, and so. And to me, that means trying to play hard, playing unselfishly, and competing at the highest level.
When you've had Davey on all season, and he's got one of the best nicknames in the league with off night, but defensively, what have you seen from him that he needs to kind of look at this summer and kind of take the next step in his game from that end?
Well, from a defensive standpoint, it's obviously just knowing personnel in the league and understanding certain players and, you know, their strengths and weaknesses. But on a nightly basis, he gives you everything defensively. He's able to get into the ball. He can guard up, guard down. So, you know, he's got a chance to be, you know, an elite defender in the league. But obviously there's some things that he would have to work on.
Have you seen any changes or I should ask, what changes have you seen from him on that end with the increased offensive responsibility that he's had the last couple weeks or so?
Well, I think what happens is that it's really difficult when you ask guys to, you know, score 20, get 10 assists, and also guard the best perimeter player out there. So, and he's played a lot of extended minutes, you know, in the last, you know, 7, 8 games. So. I think that's very difficult to ask to do on a nightly basis. I think he does it, but I think he's run out of a little bit of gas these last few games, and to me that's to be expected when you're playing 40 minutes a night and you compete at the level and as hard as he does.
When you were here with Doc and Ty was an assistant, not knowing the dynamics of a coach's meeting and when you guys are strategizing for the team, what stood out to you with Ty in those meetings? I don't know what his voice was and what his responsibilities were, but what did you see, you know, 10 years ago, whatever?
Well, one thing, you know, when you're with Doc, everybody has a voice. They really do. I mean, he listens to everyone. But I think with Ty, the thing that I saw about him is that he's got a really, really high basketball IQ. And if you watched him play and the way he played, you can understand that. I think he relates great to players. You know, I think he can be a very tough disciplinarian when he has to be. But he's one of those guys that I think players relate to. He relates to them, high basketball IQ, so it doesn't really surprise you. I thought he did one of his best coaching jobs that he's ever done this year when you consider the injuries that he had and the people that are set out and situations that he's really run into night in and night out, and he's finally getting a few of those guys back. But the fact that they're in the position they're in right now, I think is amazing in the job that he's done.
Given your head coaching experience, did you see anything to Ty in that year that you guys were together here, advice going forward, becoming a head coach, things to pay attention to?
You know, we talked all the time about that, but I didn't, you know, I didn't, you know, we talked, but I thought that he was going to be just fine.
Right.
And if you go back and look at the resume, obviously he's been more than fine.
A few days ago, at the Board of Governors press conference, Adam Silver, one of the things he talked about was the coaches challenge and how this offseason they might look at ways to kind of modify it to where if a team wins their challenge, they get to keep it.
And that would be a smart thing to do.
It would be a smart thing to do?
Yeah, of course it would be a smart thing to do. They do it in the NFL, right?
They do?
I don't see any way that it's been a detriment to the game there. So I just think that in certain situations, where you have to use a challenge where it should be an obvious call that is not made. And you have no doubt that you're gonna win the challenge, but that's gonna be it. You don't have a challenge for the end of the game, or if something comes up. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think there's a way that they can probably get to the bottom of a challenge a lot quicker. I'm not real sure why it takes so long. You know, you look at it, you know, they've got all this equipment in Secaucus, and you know, and all of these TVs and all of these big screens and all of these people watching. To me, the decision can be made by the time the refs walk over to the table. So I just think if you win a challenge, I'm not real sure why you wouldn't have another challenge, and especially, you know, one that you may have to use at the end of the game, you know, on a very close call.
Monty Williams said you would like to see the language kind of like streamlined more, you know, so that you have a better understanding of what can be challenged, what can't, things like that. Is that something else you would like to see?
Yeah, well, good luck with that one. Okay, because I'm not real sure, you know, after 34 years, I'm still not real sure, you know, what exactly are you challenged, you know? And I've been in situations where they say, you know, you lose the challenge, but you get the ball. And you go, oh, okay. But you're not real sure why. And so, yeah, I think the language can definitely be cleaned up in those situations, you know, where it's a little more understandable exactly what is being challenged. And I guess the other thing I would say is that sometimes it's not the things that you challenge, it's the things that are not called that need to be challenged. So.
Alvin, you
Just a
talked
couple
about-
more in here, sorry, just a couple more in here.
You just talked about the Clippers and Ty getting a couple guys back finally. I was wondering, what do you think of what this Clipper team might be capable of doing, or maybe how dangerous they could be with a healthy Paul George and Norm Powell?
Well, they're getting back, you know, two guys that, you know, every night can go out and get you, you know, 20 plus. And, you know, obviously they're missing Kawhi, which is, you know, makes all the difference in the world. But, you know, you get two guys back that are very good players. And when you throw them into the mix with some of the other things that have happened, I think, you know, Reggie's had a tremendous year, I think, you know, if you look at the way he's played and some of the other guys that have kind of stepped up in those situations. You know, obviously they've got to kind of get a chemistry and a rhythm back, but, you know, I think anything can happen. If you look at the West and the way it is, and the teams that are, you know, all crowded in, and you know, it wouldn't surprise me that it's 5 or 6 teams that I think could come out of the West.
Hey, Coach, back to Ty. Would you elaborate on what makes him such a relatable coach?
I just think that's who he is. That's his personality. You know, I think guys know that he has the ability to, you know, to kid around and joke, but he also has the ability to lay the hammer down immediately. So, and I think those are the kind of things that you know, that players respect, number one. And as I said, when you have a high basketball IQ like he has, it's easy for guys to, you know, to relate and fit in with it.
All right, last one in here, and then we'll go to Zoom.
You mentioned Reggie. I just want to ask you, I mean, he's been in the league for a while now, and, you know, grown as a player, but you game plans against him, I'm sure, but what do you make of him?
Well, he's just having a great year. He's having a great year shooting the ball. He's having a great year making big shots, making big plays, and you know, he's been pretty consistent throughout the season in the way he's played and how he shot the ball.
All right, Jason Anderson, go ahead. Alvin, you got me?
Yes, I do.
All right, how you doing today, sir?
All right.
Good. You know, we're coming down here to the last like 48 hours or 24 hours really of the season. Where do you have any clarity on you know, what's going to happen moving forward, and where is your level of like desire to stay on and have an opportunity to coach this team next year?
Well, I've not talked to anybody about that, and I'm sure that's going to come quickly after the season's over. So, you know, I'll leave it at that. You know, but I'm sure that's something that's going to happen pretty quickly after the season ends.
All right, James, go ahead.
Yeah, Alvin, more than any other season I can remember, this feels like 5 or 6 seasons within one season. This past like 20 games here, Just how much have you seen a change in this group and sort of a culture or a personality developing that's different than what we saw maybe the first season, the second, the third that we've seen this year?
Well, I think, bringing in a guy like Sabonis, I think has really helped from that standpoint. I think, when those guys was healthy, we were pretty competitive. Obviously, you can't lose a guy like Fox, and the numbers that he put up and the way he can make us play from the standpoint of being just, exceptionally quick with the ball and putting pressure on in transition and things like that. So it has been kind of a season within a season within a season from the standpoint of where we started and the changes that have been made and, some of the trades and everything that have happened. And then, trading deadline, we had 6 new players to our team. So that takes time, and that takes, it just takes time for everything to happen and for you to grow from that.
Okay, we'll do 2 more, Brandon, and then we'll close with Christos.
Yeah, hey Alvin, however much we do see Keita over these final 2 games, what are you hoping to see from him?
Oh, I just think having an opportunity to play, and it was a tough situation for him, the 2 Houston games, because they play basically all small guys, but in this game, and then obviously the Phoenix game that we play tomorrow night, there's going to be big guys in the game, and they'll have an opportunity to play some minutes and get that experience. And I think, anytime you can get experience in the league, after spending this time with our G League team, it's going to be good for him and it'll help him grow.
Christos.
Coach, speaking about Davion and his presence as a primary ball handler, as a facilitator for the team, what impressed you most, and what makes him so good and so consistent player at this stage of the season?
Well, I just think the fact that he's been able to have the experience of doing this, night in and night out, close to 40 minutes a night, it gives him an opportunity to grow from the standpoint of knowing the mistakes that he's making and then having an opportunity to correct them, the next night, a couple of nights after that. So just the experience of playing and the responsibility that we put on him, I think that he's grown and will continue to grow.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.